For more than a century, Swindon was famous for its steam engines, and to commemorate this proud association, a steam engine was incorporated in the coat of arms at the formation of the borough in 1900. The age of steam has passed, but its memory is enshrined in Swindon's Railway Museum. Among the items from this exciting era which are on display are the locomotives Lodestar, City of Truro, Goods, and a replica of the broad gauge engine North Star, together with hundreds of smaller exhibits. In 1841, the London to Bristol railway line was completed, and by 1843 the railway locomotive works were in production. The actual film you're watching was taken in the early 1950s and shows the full extent of the works, which covered more than 320 acres and employed over 12,000 workers. This old section of film clearly shows the extent of the new town of Swindon, which grew around the works. The decline of the railway industry in the mid-1950s led to a gradual rundown of the factory in Swindon. In the maps which follow, you will see the extent of the works in its heyday, and then as it is today. The map then shows the growth of new industrial areas during the 50s and 60s. The Cheney Manor Industrial Estate was the first to be developed by the council when it embarked upon its ambitious town expansion program in the early 1950s. At that time, the council realized that diversification of industry was essential for the successful development of the town, and Cheney Manor is a good example of this. The estate has attracted firms large and small from many parts of the country, and a wide variety of goods is produced, such as electronic and hydraulic equipment, various forms of packaging, table mats, ladies' clothing, furniture, etc. This well-planned estate, with its variety of pleasing modern buildings, provides an attractive atmosphere in which to work. On Parsonage Farm Estate, the pressed steel Fisher factory produces car bodies for the British Leyland Group, and now employs about 7,000 people. Deloro Stellite, producers of heat, corrosion and abrasion-resistant alloys, are situated alongside pressed steel Fisher. The giant warehouse of W.H. Smith & Sons dominates the scene at the Greenbridge Industrial Estate and typifies the council's policy of insisting on large, open, landscaped areas in front of the factories. This wide variety of industry has transformed Swindon from a town which has been dependent on the railway as the main employer of labour, increased its prosperity, and more than doubled its population since the end of the war. The growth of council housing in Swindon between 1952 and the present time is indicated on the map. The council embarked on town expansion early in 1952, and the first new housing estate was Pen Hill to the north of the town. This estate, which houses some 7,500 persons, is seen to advantage from the top of one of the blocks of flats. In the centre of the estate is Braden Court Shopping Centre, and in a quiet corner on the northern fringe is this small group of shops known as Hannington Close. Clive Parade is a larger shopping centre which provides a wider range of goods and services and is but a short walk from Penhill Estate. The second large estate to be developed by the council is known as Walcott East, and the first church to be built here was St Andrew's. In addition to houses, there are some interesting and varied blocks of flats. Sussex Square is the Walcott Neighbourhood Shopping Centre, consisting of an L-shaped block of shops. In the centre of the precinct is the branch library and common room. The precinct is traffic-free, where people with young children can shop at leisure in perfect safety. After Walcott East, the two park estates, north and south, were developed. In an attempt to introduce as much variety as possible into the new estates, in addition to the houses designed by the borough architect, the council commissioned local private architects to design houses for specific areas. Wherever possible, the housing layouts were designed to incorporate suitable existing trees. Swindon's new housing estates do not consist of endless terraces all looking alike, but have been planned to provide a wide range of house types in congenial surroundings. The park estates have a centrally situated neighbourhood centre, named Cavendish Square, which is another traffic-free shopping centre with adjacent large car parks. This is the largest shopping centre on the council estates and includes a public house, library, community hall, numerous small shops, a bank and larger stores such as Woolworths and the Cooperative Society. New churches of the main religious denominations were soon built on selected sites and are now firmly established. Besides houses and flats for families and newly married couples, the corporation has provided groups of specially designed bungalows for senior citizens. During development of these estates, youth was not forgotten, and the Park Boys Club was soon provided by the National Association of Boys Clubs. There are many grassed areas adjoining the houses where toddlers can play in safety. In other areas, well-equipped playgrounds are provided. Coatwater amenity area is within easy reach of the estates and provides recreational facilities for all age groups. It is in fact an ideal venue for family outings and is situated in a delightful wooded area. Private housing development has kept pace with the expansion of the town as indicated on the map. Many large firms have developed new housing estates and continue to build in and around Swindon houses and bungalows to suit all tastes. The corporation has always been mindful of the need for maintaining the correct balance between private and council housing. The corporation itself has built houses and bungalows for sale at Covingham at very competitive prices and has also provided mortgage facilities. About 900 properties have already been completed and further instalments are planned. These are typical pre-war houses near the Marlborough Road. In addition to speculative building, there have of course been many private houses built to individual designs, and future plans include further plots for houses such as these. Since the end of the war, more than 30 new schools have been built in Swindon to keep pace with the growing population. Each one has been individually designed to suit its surroundings and built on a specially selected site. Most new infant schools are situated alongside junior schools, and thus a smooth transition amid familiar surroundings is ensured. All new schools have fully equipped kitchens and dining room facilities, where attractive and varied midday meals are provided. Secondary education in Swindon has been completely reorganized and the 11+ procedure has been abolished. All children automatically transfer at the age of 11 to a high school. After 3 years, they have the opportunity of transferring to a senior high school for a minimum of 2 years, or remaining at the high school for a final 4th year. Plans have been made in Swindon to develop the present system into a fully comprehensive pattern which will come into effect with the raising of the school leaving age to 16. All the high schools have well-equipped laboratories and workshops where boys are taught the basic woodwork and metalwork skills. And although not shown in the film, appropriate facilities exist for girls. In addition to all the new schools, many of the older ones, such as Commonwealth School, have been modernized and extended to meet present-day needs. One of the first post-war schools was Headlands, shown here during one of its sports days. By careful planning, all post-war schools have been sited to give them excellent playing fields, and all forms of sport are encouraged. In the field of further education, one of Swindon's most important projects has been the extension of the college, which is a prominent feature in the centre of Swindon. The first extension was officially opened by His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh in 1961. A second stage has been recently completed, and a further stage is under construction. From the vantage point on the roof of the college, there are panoramic views in all directions. This one looking east shows on the horizon the Walcott Estate and the Greenbridge Industrial Estate. Looking north along the recently completed Princes Street dual carriageway, the beginnings of the Civic Centre development can be seen and will be shown in more detail later. To the west, across the rooftops of the town which grew around the railway works, is the spire of the Railwaymen's Church, St. Mark's. Southwards is the Old Lady on the Hill, the parish church of Swindon, which is situated in the old part of the town. Descending from the college roof, Queen's Park is but a short walk away. This, the newest of Swindon's parks, has been created around a lake. Many people from the nearby shops and offices find it convenient to spend their lunchtime break in this delightful spot. Boating and swimming are not allowed at the lake, but swimming is catered for at the swimming baths near the town centre. The Milton Road baths were built originally by the Great Western Railway Company in the 19th century. They have, of course, been extensively modernised and provide excellent facilities. A large bath for swimmers and a smaller one for children and learners. The main shopping and business centre of Swindon is shown from the college rooftop and will now be explored in more detail. The town's two remaining cinemas, the Odeon and the ABC, are situated in the vicinity of the old town hall. Regent Street has for more than half a century been the main shopping street of the town, and this is where most of the nationally known stores are situated. This street is close to traffic on Saturdays and will eventually be completely traffic-free. This area behind Regent Street has been acquired by the council and will shortly be redeveloped as the Brunel Shopping Precinct. A feature of this 13-acre development will be rooftop service areas which will leave the ground levels completely free for pedestrians. The council's policy is to provide a traffic-free central shopping area. The parade shown here is a first step in this direction. It allows pedestrians to shop in pleasant surroundings, free from the noise, danger and fumes of passing vehicles. A subway under Fleming Way forms a pedestrian link from the parade to the temporary bus station, which caters for local and country buses and also long-distance coaches. A permanent station will be built in the near future. In addition to shopping and business requirements, an expanding town such as Swindon needs public buildings. The area designated for this purpose lies to the west of the new dual carriageway of Princess Street, and this is the recently completed Divisional Police Headquarters. The Courts of Justice was the first new public building to be completed in Swindon and will adjoin the Civic Centre. The footbridge shown here under construction will provide a safe pedestrian route across Princess Street to the proposed Theatre Square, which will be the heart of the new Civic Centre. The new £7.5 million Civic Centre has been designed by Casson, Condor and Partners. It will include a multi-purpose civic hall, an art centre, a new sub-post office, shops and offices, a bar, discotheque and a multi-storey car park. The Civic Hall will be on the north side of Theatre Square, the Art Centre to the west and the commercial group of buildings to the south. The Art Centre, opening in 1971, will have a 600-seat theatre and several rooms which will be available for club meetings. It will provide a much-needed extension to the existing Art Centre in Devizes Road, which is already used to capacity. Devizes Road is situated in Old Swindon and changes are taking place here as elsewhere in the town. Just around the corner at Victoria Road, there are new shops and offices, together with a new art gallery. By far the largest single development in the Old Town area is the new hospital. Her Royal Highness Princess Margaret laid the foundation stone in May 1957 and gave her name to the hospital. She paid a second visit in 1966 to open the second phase. When fully developed, this vast project will have 800 beds. Today, Old Town is a pleasant mixture of the old and the new. High Street retains some of its old world charm. The facade of this old coaching inn remains unchanged, but internally it has been recently extensively modernized. The same can be said of the other old coaching inn, the Goddard Arms Hotel. There are still small family businesses to be found in this part of the town. This one, for instance, has been in the same family for more than 80 years. Old Town has indeed a charm of its own. Christ Church was built in 1851 to replace the old parish church, which had become too small. It stands in a dominating position on the hill and is a prominent landmark for miles around. From the bride's flowers to those of the town gardens, which are situated in Old Town. These gardens, with their formal layout, provide a delightful place for a pleasant stroll and are a fitting memorial to the enterprise which founded the fortunes of Swindon. For in 1640, the lord of the manor started a stone quarry which proved a very prosperous venture. Following the Great Fire of London in 1666, Portland stone quarried here was transported to London to help in the rebuilding of the city. The quarry later fell into disuse, and the town gardens are laid upon its bed. This area of natural beauty, with its lakes and woodlands, part of the estate belonging to the lord of the manor, is preserved as a public open space known as the lawn. It also provides a pedestrian link from the expansion area to the old part of the town. This diagrammatic map indicates quite clearly Swindon's setting, with the Marlborough Downs to the south and the Cotswolds to the north. The double dotted line running east to west indicates the line of the M4 motorway. Swindon is surrounded by large areas of unspoilt natural beauty, and firstly the Downs to the south will be explored. Over the county border to the east is the Uffington White Horse Hill. This national monument is a favourite spot for a family picnic or an evening trip by car. Travelling westwards from the White Horse Hill and just 4 miles from Swindon is the village of Wanborough, nestling at the foot of the Downs. The little village of Badbury, which has remained virtually unchanged for centuries, is suddenly plunged into the motorway age by the construction of the M4 across its doorstep. The M4 from London to South Wales will pass just south of Swindon. On completion, it will be of immense benefit to the town by providing rapid road links with London, Bristol and Cardiff. This section of motorway is due for completion in 1971. The motorway has been carefully planned to fit into without marring the Wiltshire Downs. Just 2 miles south of Swindon lies Wroughton, a village where modern houses exist in harmony with the older thatched cottages. In addition to the fine open downland, there are extensive woodland areas within easy reach of the town. Avebury, 12 miles from Swindon and situated on the open downs, is famous for its stone circle, which is older than Stonehenge. It has some interesting old properties and is well worth a visit. Cliff Pipard lies between Avebury and Wootton Bassett. Wootton Bassett is an old town which is noted for its wide high street and its timbered and pillared town hall. The medieval church of Lydiard Millicent, a village some 3 miles from Swindon, is close by this modern development of Chestnut Springs. These attractive dwellings have been individually designed, and this is of course just one of the many excellent private developments in a country setting, and yet within easy reach of Swindon. The Church of St Mary at Lydiard Tregoze is a 13th century building, standing in the grounds of Lydiard Park Mansion. This historic home of the Bolingbroke family, standing in 150 acres of woodland and pasture, was purchased by the corporation in 1943. The building as it now stands was remodeled in the 1740s. The church, house and grounds are open to the public. At the time this film was produced, plans were being made to use part of the first floor of the house as a day conference centre. Passing through Purton on the way northwards, there is but time to catch a glimpse of the church and the manor house. Lechlade in the Thames Valley lies 11 miles northeast of Swindon, at a point where the River Leach joins the River Thames. This is a very popular spot at weekends and holidays for many Swindonians who go to enjoy the fishing and boating or just picnicking by the river. It is interesting to note that the boundaries of Wiltshire, Berkshire and Gloucestershire meet at Lechlade. And now into the Cotswolds to visit Burford, which is surely one of the most fascinating small towns in England. The main street is steep and lined by cottages, old world inns and shops. It attracts visitors from all over the world who stop to admire its unspoiled splendour. From Burford and the large Gateway Hotel at a busy crossroads on the outskirts, and on to the attractive village of Bibury. The quiet charm of the Swan Hotel provides an interesting contrast, situated as it is on a trout stream. Arlington Row is owned by the National Trust, and is a wonderful example of old, mellow stone cottages nestling into the hillside beside the stream. At this beautiful spot, the tour of some of the interesting countryside around Swindon must be brought to a close. Swindon continues to expand, and the area shown green on this map represents the 750 acres of South Dorking which were added to the borough in 1969. This area is being developed as 2 urban villages, Leyden and Elding. There will not be large council estates, as there will only be 80 acres of houses to let, compared with 220 acres of houses for sale. The natural beauty of the site will be further enhanced by extensive landscaping, and the villages will serve as prototypes for the next phase of Swindon's expansion. And now a brief summary of the Council's achievements in the field of town expansion. Over 50 firms have moved to Swindon since 1953, and they occupy 5.25 million square yards of factory area. They employ more than 13,000 male and 4,000 female workers. Since 1951, more than 30,000 people have moved into the borough of Swindon. To cope with this great influx, the Council has built over 7,300 houses on the Pen Hill, Walcott and Park estates, and is justly proud of this record. These estates are a far cry from the terraced houses of the 19th century. At the same time, private housing has kept pace with the demand, and there are many attractive developments in and around the borough. The Council has always encouraged private housing, and this policy will be continued. Sites for new schools were allocated in the early planning stages, and building was so programmed that the schools were available as families moved into the surrounding houses. These modern schools are designed to provide every facility for teaching the youth of today to be the citizens of tomorrow. In the central area, vast changes are taking place, and many new shops have been built. Traffic-free precincts are being created, and within the next few years, the shopping heart of Swindon will be completely pedestrianised and will be without equal for miles around. The development of Swindon Civic Centre is progressing on a site splendidly placed in a commanding position. Town gardens in Old Swindon are in complete contrast to the bustle of the central area. Many old buildings exist in this part of the town and give it quite a distinctive atmosphere. The new hospital on the fringe of Old Town typifies Swindon today, a pleasant blend of the old and the new. But something which must not be forgotten is the natural beauty of the surrounding countryside, which is rich in interesting villages, each with its own character and charm. The villages, however, have not been spoilt by the addition of modern, well-designed houses which have been planned to harmonize with their surroundings. Some small towns and villages have remained virtually unchanged for centuries, unlike Swindon, which is changing very rapidly. In this short film, it has only been possible to give a brief glimpse of Swindon's beautiful setting. Few industrial towns of the same size can be so well blessed with the riches of the English countryside. Nestling at the foot of the Downs with expansion continuing, Swindon steps ahead confidently into the 70s.